Hello, I'm Charles Boynton, and I welcome you to this 8th session of Export U. In this section, we will discuss international transaction payment terms. In the previous session, we have already considered other pieces of the export puzzle, and all of these are critical to developing overseas business. But so far, we haven't discussed what happens when you've made the sale, and it's time to collect your money. The big question is, how can I make sure I will get paid by my overseas customers? The question of payment terms is one with which every exporter must wrestle time and again, and for which there is, unfortunately, no simple answer. In all likelihood, you will utilize a combination of the terms depending on the market, the client, and the situation. In this session, we will look first at the various available payment terms, then discuss some of the advantages and disadvantages of each, and then consider the key factors that will help you with the selection process. The payment terms used in international trading are actually no different than the terms used in domestic trading, although, depending on your business, you may not be familiar with all of them. The four basic terms are cash in advance, open account, documentary collections, which come in two types, cash against documents, which you will also encounter referred to as sight drafts, and documents against acceptance, sometimes referred to as time drafts or trade acceptances. And lastly, documentary credits, better known as letters of credit, and which, like documentary collections, appear in two basic forms, at-sight letters of credit and acceptance letters of credit, which you will sometimes see referred to as a time letter of credit or usance letter of credit. That last payment term, letters of credit, is a subject unto itself, and in another session we will address it in much greater detail. But today we want to focus on the use of the terms rather than the details. So let's begin our discussion with the term which every seller loves, cash in advance. Of course, cash in advance is also a term which most buyers loathe, and it's easy to see why. The seller has the buyer's money, and the seller has control of the product, for which the buyer has already paid. And the seller is left to wonder when and if the shipment will occur. And if it does, will the seller ship the correct product? It is no wonder that this term is little used. Most buyers find the risk totally unacceptable, and companies that rely on cash in advance as the term of sale are not likely to obtain a large market share. That said, when is cash in advance an appropriate sales term? If you deal in used goods or equipment, the term is not at all unusual, either domestically or internationally. Or, if you have a unique product, or a product in high demand and limited production, the term can be employed. But most often the term is used when you are dealing in small orders, such as spare parts, or when you are negotiating a first transaction and you do not have sufficient credit and other information to use a term other than cash in advance or letter of credit and be assured of payment. In the last case, you might want to consider offering terms once the client has completed a detailed credit application, something any business person on either side of the ocean ought to understand. In short, cash in advance is a specialized term with which you cannot hope to generate substantial international sales. The same cannot be said of the next term we will consider, open account sales. From a risk perspective, if we labeled the last term cash in advance, then we could label open account terms cash in arrears. All the risk is borne by you, the exporter. The product is gone, and the money is due at some point in the future. Why then is the term so widely used today? Certainly when I began in international several decades ago, the normal small business term was letter of credit. I think the prevalence of open account today is due to a few key factors. First, credit information